Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. This Labor Day, fire up the grill and enjoy quality meats and fresh local produce from Safeway. Safeway proudly supports Colorado farms and small businesses. Shop in-store or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
As early as this week, you might spot a car going around Denver without a driver. No need to blink twice. It's just a Waymo. The driverless rideshare company announced yesterday that it's coming to town, but you can't call one right away. The company says it's deploying the first dozen cars so Waymo can learn about Denver streets. Eventually, it does expect to offer autonomous rideshare around most of Metro Denver, so you can take one to Red Rocks or even home if you live outside the downtown core. I'm Bazi Kanani. Coming up, more than 1,000 good-paying jobs could be leaving Colorado Springs.
Attorney General Phil Weiser says his office is preparing to challenge the decision in court, but I'm not sure what kind of legal argument the state can make.
You'll get the latest on plans to move the military's Space Command out of state. Then, a reason to be extra careful on highways this fall.
The system will start sending out $75 tickets to the registered owner of the vehicle, regardless of who's driving.
CDOT cameras will be watching. Plus, a man gets honored for buying thousands of pairs of Crocs. He explains why.
I'm like, these people are superheroes. Like, I want to be a superhero just like these people.
It's Wednesday, September 3rd. Here's the news in Colorado today. Colorado has lost the battle, at least for now, to keep Space Command.
And I am thrilled to report that the U.S. Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City.
Space Command is responsible for all the military branches' work in space, and it defends U.S. satellites. It employs more than 1,000 people and a web of military contractors. Yesterday, President Trump spoke alongside the vice president, defense officials, and members of Alabama's congressional delegation.
We love Alabama. I only won it by about 47 points. I don't think that influenced my decision, though, right?
CPR's Caitlin Kim has more on how this impacts Colorado and why the command is moving. Caitlin, up to this point, Colorado Springs has been home to Space Command. How long has it been here?
It's been there a long time. You know, the first iteration of Space Command started in the early 1980s, and it existed until 2002 in Colorado Springs. Trump revived Space Command in 2019, and he set up its temporary headquarters, again, at what was then Peterson Air Force Base, now Space Force Base. But from the start, in 2019, the military was looking for a permanent base, and places in California and Alabama were also in the running. So in 2021, right before he left office, Trump announced that he intended to move the operations, the headquarters, to Alabama.
Then, of course, President Biden reversed that decision and kept it in Colorado. But when Trump returned to office this year, he took up the issue again. What did he say about why he's moving it to Alabama now?
You know, Trump said there were strategic benefits to moving it to Alabama, noting that NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center is there, though he didn't go into much detail other than to say it made sense from a location standpoint. He also said Alabama fought hard for it and that it was a state full of, quote, great people. And when talking about moving it away from Colorado, Trump actually talked about a non-military reason. He cited Colorado's mail-in voting.
They went to all mail-in voting, so they have automatically crooked elections, and we can't have that. When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections because that's what that means. So that played a big factor also.
You know, Colorado does allow every registered voter to vote by mail, but there is no evidence of fraudulent elections. And, you know, Trump has a pattern of tying resource decisions to political priorities, so this is also in line with that.
Colorado Republicans have been working alongside Democrats here to try to keep Space Command. That bipartisan effort clearly wasn't enough. What do they say the repercussions will be?
The Colorado congressional delegation has been united and working together on making the argument to keep Space Command headquarters in Colorado Springs. The biggest argument they've been making is that moving the command puts military readiness at risk. This isn't 2021 anymore. Since Trump first announced the command would go to Alabama back then, China and Russia have advanced the weaponization of space. Now, 2 years ago, Space Command achieved full operational capability in Colorado Springs, and they worry that a move will negatively impact that readiness. In a joint statement, the entire congressional delegation said it sets the U.S. space defense apparatus back years, wastes taxpayer dollars, and gives the advantage to our adversaries. There is also a money issue. U.S. debt is at an all-time high, and the cost of moving and building a new command will not be cheap. Though it may be cheaper in the long run to have it in Alabama when it comes to cost of living.
What about here in Colorado? What's at stake here? And what's next?
So Attorney General Phil Weiser says his office is preparing to challenge the decision in court, but I'm not sure what kind of legal argument the state can make. The commander-in-chief has a lot of say in basing decisions, and reportedly Trump overruled Air Force generals in 2021 who advocated for Colorado Springs to be home of Space Command. Governor Jared Polis said it was disappointing and the wrong decision to move Space Command, but he did say he hopes other military units and missions are retained and perhaps even expanded in Colorado, specifically mentioning Golden Dome, a proposed U.S. missile defense shield. But I'll note Trump already said that Alabama as home of Space Command would have a role in that. Colorado Springs Mayor Yemi Mobolade said he wasn't surprised by Trump's decision, but he remains hopeful. He says Colorado Springs is already a global leader in space, and they'll look for new opportunities for expansion and growth. I'll note the governor's office says the state added more than 3,500 new aerospace and defense jobs last year, so it raises the question of whether the city and state could lose some of its knowledge base and jobs in the sector as a result of Trump's decision.
Caitlin Kim in Washington, D.C. Thanks for your reporting.
Thank you.
Is your cruise control working? It might be a good time to check. CDOT is expanding its use of speed cameras, which means if you're not careful, you could soon find a $75 ticket in the mailbox. CPR's Haley May is here to tell us what to expect on Colorado roads this fall. Haley, what is CDOT's plan for these new cameras?
So this expansion plan was actually approved back in 2023 by the legislature, and it's just getting going now with the activation of speed cameras along Highway 119. That's a stretch between Boulder and Longmont, and it's an active work zone right now. CDOT started issuing warnings there in July for drivers going 10 miles per hour or more over the posted speed limit, but that grace period is ending now, and the system will start sending out $75 tickets to the registered owner of the vehicle, regardless of who's driving.
So this enforcement starts on Highway 119. Where next?
Well, they haven't said specifically, but to their credit, they are trying to be transparent about the whole thing. If you go to CDOT's website, you can check out a map of where the cameras are active. Plus, new locations will have a warning period of at least 30 days before they start to send out tickets. And signage will stay up when you're entering an area where a camera could catch you.
We'll have to watch out for those signs. Highway 119 gets a lot of traffic, but it's not really one of our busiest highways. Why is CDOT targeting that route first?
Well, this one, like we mentioned, is a work zone, and it's an area that CDOT considers high risk for speed-related crashes. That's something the state's working to combat right now because speed is the leading factor of deadly car crashes in the state, killing more than 200 people last year. And a recent survey found that about 70% of Colorado drivers admitted to speeding on main highways. So CDOT says when the program does expand, it'll be in other high-risk places like school zones and CDOT-owned corridors where crashes are common.
Haley, you've reported that CDOT is kicking off another campaign this fall as well.
That's right, Bozzy. Yeah, it's an anti-speed campaign that aims to clear up a common misconception, which is that speeding saves time. Signage is being put out across the state right now with the goal of reminding people that that isn't totally true. According to a study conducted by AAA Colorado, the average driver saves just 26 seconds per day by speeding.
That's not really enough time to be worth it. Haley, CDOT may bring in a lot of money by catching every speeder with these cameras. What does the agency plan to do with the money it makes from speeding tickets?
Well, it'll be used to cover operational costs for the camera system itself. And then CDOT says any excess funds will be used for what it calls vulnerable road user projects, basically things that make streets and highways safer for both pedestrians and cyclists.
CPR's Haley May with a warning for all drivers. Thanks, Haley.
You're welcome.
A man was honored yesterday for owning the world's largest collection of Crocs. This isn't a story about a compulsive shopper. Rather, it's about how Doogie Sandtiger grew up shuffling through the foster care system and missed out on a basic life skill.
Never learned how to tie my shoes. Nobody ever taught me. Everybody assumed I knew. I didn't. I just moved on, and I got away with wearing Velcro shoes. I mean, we're talking like the 90s and the 2000s, like light-up shoes and gel shoes and Velcro shoes were hot back then.
Eventually, Velcro made him a target for bullying. Then one day, he spotted a flash of lavender in a neighbor's garden. Not flowers, it was a pair of Crocs, the shoes born in Colorado in 2002.
I just liked the way how bright they were and how they popped against like her garden and everything. I was like, oh, those are so cool. No laces, kind of silly, quirky, weird like me. I dig it. I vibe with it.
Those lavender Crocs hooked him. He bought his first pair that same afternoon, and then another and another. He started sharing photos of his collection online. But there again, bullies tried to insult him. They called him the Croc King. But this time, he decided to own it.
I was like, that's actually really cool. I like it. I don't care if it's silly and kind of caricature-y. I'm gonna run with it.
And then he decided to pursue a childhood dream, to set a Guinness World Record.
I loved seeing the annual Guinness Book of World Records every year. And I'm like, these people are superheroes. Like, I want to be a superhero just like these people. This is so cool.
He learned at least 1,000 pairs were needed to qualify for a new record, but he didn't yet have that many Crocs. So he bought more. By the time Guinness checked back with him, he'd gone way past the minimum by collecting more than 3,500 pairs. It took more than 13 hours just to count them all. That earned Sandtiger the official world record. Yesterday, the Connecticut town where he grew up declared September 2nd as Croc King Doogie Day. Sandtiger said the holiday is not about a, quote, weird dude collecting Crocs. He said it's about getting people to understand what it really means to be in the foster system.
Most foster families are not long-term, and they're not there to adopt you. We're providing a safe place for this child for a specific amount of time, and then that's it. And a lot gets lost along the way.
In Colorado, more than 2,500 kids are in foster care. Those who move homes a lot can miss everyday skills. Things like shaving with a razor, using a microwave, tying shoes. For Sandtiger, this world record is about raising awareness of the gaps in the foster system and about overcoming obstacles.
I'm still, figuring my place in this world, still following my bucket list. Even now in 2025, I still cross things off my bucket list as my life continues to grow.
Reporting for today's show also came from CPR's Kiara Damari. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'm Bazi Kanani. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. This Labor Day, fire up the grill and enjoy quality meats and fresh local produce from Safeway. Safeway proudly supports Colorado farms and small businesses. Shop in-store or in the Safeway app.